forever, and it's just neat to see. He's undersized, but boy, he's fun to watch.
And last but not least, if you were to get an award, who would you like to thank?
What do you mean?
You're a Coach of the Week, Coach.
Oh, shoot. Oh, I'd like to thank our team because, without them, I wouldn't be it. No, that's very nice, but without the team, my assistant coaches, Craig Hillisland, Carlos Aguinaga, Joe Lopez, David Gomez, it's a team effort. Our Frost Soft staff, Adrian Phillips, and the guys over there, without them, we wouldn't. It's a team effort. So I'm not Coach of the Week, we're Coach of the Week. That's really amounts to.
And with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, the GSF Weekly number 7 Top Dog Awards. And we're going to start with the Coach of the Week. You just saw the man, heard from the man. Coach Collins is our GSF Week 7 Coach of the Week. Congratulations, Coach. The Lions are still undefeated, and they got a Friday night date with the Oak Grove Eagles. Offensive Player of the Week. This was a tough one. So many great performances, but we went with the player who got an A for effort, and that is wide receiver Andrew Adkison, a 3-star recruit from the St. Francis Lancers. Andrew made some catches that only Andrew can, and as a result, his Lancers beat the Fighting Irish 24-17 last Friday night. Defensive Player of the Week. We're going to go with Woodside High School's Mason Furtado. His Wildcats beat El Camino 41-32, and Mason went beast mode on defense with 18 total tackles, 11 of them solo. Great job, Mason. Special Teams Player of the Week. San Mateo High's Jack Newsick, kicker. This game was decided in OT. The Bearcats traded blows all game against the Hillsdale Knights, and in the end, it was Jack who won it for his Bearcats. Offensive Lineman of the Week, I gotta give it to Francisco Martinez, center for the still undefeated Lincoln Lions. The Lions offense racked up 383 yards, and Martinez was near perfect with his snaps and initial blocks off the line. Shout out to the Lincoln lineman who made way for our GSF 5-star running back playmaker Sal Espinoza, who ran for 204 yards, and 2-time GSF Game of the Week MVP Tayton Phillips, who ran for 181 yards. Great job, Lincoln. Defensive Lineman of the Week. St. Francis Lancers Braden Ellis. These two particular plays were important in ending the Sacred Heart Cathedral's fight to tie the game with less than 2 minutes left. St. Francis defense got it done against the Fighting Irish. Lancers won 24-7. Hustle Play of the Week. Stu. Sacred Heart Prep Junior safety Charlie Stewart. He had 2 huge pass breakups right before the half to keep previously undefeated Half Moon Bay away from the end zone. That's how you hustle. Great job, Stewart. And finally, the ultimate game changer for week number 7 is St. Mary's Stockton QB Samson Hunkin. See, I told y'all something was up with that clip I showed earlier. Check out these stats. Samson completed 23 out of 29 passes for 251 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. He also rushed for 75 yards on 11 carries and scored 2 touchdowns. St. Mary's with a big win over De La Salle, 45-35. Congratulations to all the GSF Weekly number 8 Top Dog Award winners. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media at GetSportsFocus.
GetSportsFocus is brought to you by Summit Partners, leaders in growth equity investing, Ike's Love and Sandwiches, championship level sandwiches every single time, weightsandbars.com, build your home gym and shop locally from the Bay Area's best fitness equipment experts, and by South Bay Construction, a reputation built on trust.
Time now for some Twitter highlights. I'm going to start with one of our GSF 5-star players, Jalen Thomas. He had 3 touchdowns, and his dad sent me these videos. He was a runner-up for the Offensive Player of the Week, and he also had a 60-yard punt return. Great job, Jalen Thomas. We got Jono Price from MA. Jono, GSF playmaker. But man, he's got moves. We got several submissions, but we just picked the good ones. I like this one. This is Zane. Class of what, 2032? Something like that? He's a guard and a D-end for the Milpitas Knights. I'm not sure what age group, but we saw this on TikTok or Instagram, and it's just nicely put together. So my man's got swag. We're just gonna call him Zane, number 42. He's got Ronnie Lott's number, and he looks like a hitter. And we'll end with this. Aquino McGee, proving once again that he is the man. With a 102-yard, what is this, pick six? Good job, Aquino. All right, it's time for the GSF predictions segment for week number 8. As always, Coach Andrew is going to be joining me. But first, I got a special guest that's going to join me to talk about the first 2 games all the way from San Francisco. You guys know who he is, Ethan Castle. What's up, Ethan?
Hey, what's going on?
Our Burlingame Panthers expert.
Yes, sir. How's the audio?
The audio is perfect.
All right, wasn't sure if you wanted me to do headphones or whatever.
Nah, we're simple, man.
But if this is good, then
unless
awesome.
you have Beats by Dre, then you know.
No, I have like cheapo $10 earbuds that lasted me like 5 years.
I'm just using the speakers on my MacBook right here. Coach Andrew's running late, but we could do your part. So what you been up to, man? Let's get to know Ethan a little bit with this segment.
Oh, you want me to like introduce myself to the audience and stuff like that?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, for sure. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ethan Castle. I spent about 6 years writing for Prep to Prep in the San Francisco Examiner. I am now the prep sports editor at the San Francisco Standard. So this year especially been focusing a lot on teams within San Francisco, both public and private, but still paying attention to football all over the CCS.
And he does a really good job with
appreciate that.
With the game coverage. Kids love you, man. You're like the dude.
Appreciate that.
So we have a game that we want to talk about, and that is the game between Sacred Heart Prep and the Burlingame Panthers. Your Burlingame Panthers. Are you claiming the Panthers?
I mean,
or are you
I'm
staying
a proud
neutral?
alum. I'm a proud alum. I've got my name on a banner in the gym, but it's not like I really have any vested rooting interest. Got a lot of good people that I know at SHP. There are some of my most loyal readers actually are from SHP, so really appreciate the circulation I got down there.
Nice. So I've seen a lot of Sacred Heart Prep, but I haven't seen a lot of Burlingame as far as like live. I've seen, highlights and stuff, huddles, and read about them and stuff, but and I know a couple players there, or 3, but I really don't know much about them. So I figure I'd bring you in and you can educate us on what you think about this upcoming matchup this Friday. It's Friday, right? Not Saturday?
Yeah, should be typical 7:00 Friday night. I'm gonna double check on that to make sure, but yeah, it looks to be still on for 7 p.m. Friday, normal time slot.
At Burlingame.
Yep, they played there last year too. It was an awesome crowd. So to give you a little background, this has been a really good rivalry over the last decade plus. The schools aren't like super close to each other geographically. Both have more local rivals. But SHP gets a lot of kids from Hillsborough, some from Burlingame. So there's a lot of everybody knows everybody. And they've just been really close, good, competitive games. Last year being maybe the best example of that, where Burlingame scored on a 4th down in the final minute and then went for 2 and got it. They won 22-21. Pretty huge crowd on both sides. It's a lot of fun when these teams get together. Now, last year's Burlingame team was really senior heavy. They have, I believe, 2 returning starters on the entire roster, whereas SHP is a very experienced group that has back most of last year's weapons. So give the upper hand to the Gators here. But I will say, every time these teams match up, it ends up being a close game, no matter what it looks like on paper. And I think a lot of that's just, it's more than just the teams getting up for this game. It's that the styles they play kind of lend themselves to, a slower moving, low scoring game. You go on an 8-9 minute drive. It's going to be a quick game, unless there's a ton of penalties or hopefully no injury delays or something, in and out by like 9:15, 9:30. But even though, like I said, SHP has an edge in terms of talent, but Burlingame has a way of keeping this game close. They know what SHP is going to throw at them. They match up with them well. They can turn this into like a low event, low possession game. I do think the Gators ultimately take this one. Maybe they get a late touchdown to win it by like 14 instead of 7, but should be tight, like a 24-10 type of game.
Nice. Do you think I'm not 100% sure if Andrew Latu is healthy for this Friday. It didn't look too good on the sideline last Saturday, but do you think that's a game changer right there?
I think it takes away a bit of what SHP wants to do offensively, but you were at the Half Moon Bay game yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah, I was there, and we saw that, they couldn't necessarily rip off like a 20-yard gain as easily, but they could still convert, get themselves into 3rd and short situations, run the ball, get the first downs they needed. Because they have a bunch of different guys they go to, even if none of them are like the big play threat that Latu is. Between Wilbert, Noto, Savali, Maxwell, they've got enough guys that can make that play.
And they want to go.
They'll be fine. It's going to help keep the game closer.
Yeah, I figured that would be the thing. What about Half Moon Bay? Half Moon Bay is at Menlo School, I think.
Yeah, 3 p.m. Friday. That's going to be a good one. If it wasn't for needing to be in the city for Bruce-Mahoney Friday night, I would honestly do everything I could to get there. But I'm going to do City Public School game Friday, see Washington and Lowell at 3, and then head over to Kezar for Bruce-Mahoney, which is always a really special night. But I am going to be following that Half Moon Bay Menlo game closely. A few years back, that would be like the Ocean Division Championship every year, or they'd play each other in like a D4 or D5 championship under the old CCS format. They saw each other a lot. They saw each other in basketball championships too. So you had a lot of Half Moon Bay versus Menlo. It's good small school football. A lot of guys playing both ways. We try to find, I'm going to pull up my stuff real quick here, see if I can find times they've played against each other. Yeah, it was like 2015, 2016. They played each other a ton. And the way the styles of this game work is a little different. Half Moon Bay, they run a lot of triple option stuff, a lot of sort of rugby scrum type plays. Their blockers can pull really well. And then Menlo, they like to air it out, but they aren't looking deep as much as they did last year. It's a lot more in terms of, short screen passes, getting the receivers open, and then letting them go to work in space. They can do some downfield stuff, but they aren't doing it like quite as much as they did last year.
Yeah, last year
still,
they were
really
throwing down.
Yeah, I like what they have at QB still. Jake Bianchi's good, and he's a big body that's going to interest some college coaches, whereas Sergio Beltran was like a great high school quarterback, but not the sort of body size that's going to get college coaches super excited. College coaches look so much at potential rather than results in the immediate moment. But yeah, I like this Menlo team. I think they're sneaky good in the trenches. Avery Romaine, Ralston Raphael, really good players. Half Moon Bay's got some guys on the line too, though. There were a couple of guys who really impressed me this past week. It was my first time seeing them this year, so let me pull up their roster, try to remember who it was. I remember Hermes McClellan was one of them. He was everywhere. Alan Avila was pretty good. Gail Segura. So even though the teams go about moving the ball differently, they're kind of similar in their core in that everyone's playing both ways, maybe 3 ways if they're playing special teams too. And
I
it's
counted
gonna be
29 guys on the sideline for Half Moon Bay.
yeah, that's about what Menlo has too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's in the high 20s, low 30s. I think
Mhm.
it's a little bit higher, but it's not huge. I would give the edge here to Half Moon Bay just because I think this is a really strong HMB team. But I wouldn't be surprised if Menlo wins this. If they can find a way to slow Half Moon Bay down a bit like SHP did, keep them out of the end zone. I think Menlo has an edge on special teams. They got one of the most underrated kickers in the area, Ross Muchnick, and he's a game changer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't seen Menlo. We haven't seen Menlo, right? Coach Andrew, thank you for joining us. He is the new head track coach at Monte Vista Christian. Congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you, thank
Great
you.
stuff.
Thank you. Gonna turn this, gonna help turn that program around and grow it, turn it into a contender.
There
my
you
goal.
go. We might have to start covering track now on a regular basis. Now
Hey,
that we have a
you'll see
track
a lot
coach
of.
on the group.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of these football players they run tracks, like
They
so.
do,
You know,
yeah.
it'd be good to see them, like in another sport. So which games did you guys go through already?
Well, we just went through the Half Moon Bay, Menlo, and the one before that was the Sacred Heart Prep Burlingame.
Okay.
And both predictions by our expert Ethan
Yeah.
Castle. He said it's gonna be a close game.
For both.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I heard the tail end of it, like Sacred Heart Prep, like they're really, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan, like they look like they're really pushing to be in that open division. They're like they're trying to,
They're legit.
They want to.
yeah. So I would not be surprised if they go into this to like really, really push it more, especially after that Half Moon Bay game was a tough game. That was a tough game for them.
Yeah, good physical affair. But yeah, I just think the way those two teams complement each other, it makes for a closer game more often than not.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah,
Let's
so
talk
I'm gonna
about
go
your
with
let's talk about your Mitty Monarchs against the Bellarmine Bells, Coach Andrew.
You know what? I will say it this way. They both like similar results against Serra, kind of like the way the gameplay like kind of went through with both of them, pretty similar. So if they kept up and they both put up a really good fight, that the depth on Serra just kind of takes over. I've
Where's
talked to
teams
some of the,
down?
what's that?
Where's teams down?
Oh, absolutely. Like I talked to some of the kids from Mitty and I talked to some of the kids from Bellarmine. That's exactly what they said. It wasn't anything wrong. It's the way that, that coaching staff just knows how to play the players all the way through. So it wears down. So this is going to be a good grudge one. I think it's going to be really close. I have to go with my Mitty guys. I'm going to, and I'm going to go 31-28. That's how close I feel.
31-28. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how close I feel. And I feel like that's way more real. That's really pretty realistic, I think.
I think it's going to be a great game. And I think it's going to be hopefully an awesome crowd. Should be the first time this rivalry's really been the game in football in a while. Basketball, it's been huge for years, but it's going to be definitely the biggest Bellarmine Mitty football game in a good minute. Looking forward to it.
I like what I saw from the Bellarmine Bells defense. I like how they played against Serra in like the first part of the game. It's kind of hard, but I feel like the teams that go against Serra, I mean, they look terrified after a while with all those D linemen coming at them. You got Jabari Man and Danny Niu like coming at you. And if you do get past them, you got Joseph Bay ready to hit you really hard.
Can bend the dude's face mask.
Yeah, exactly. So this game is big enough that I think it's going to be our game of the week. This game is big enough that I think it's going to be a game of the week. And I'm going to have to go with the Bellarmine Bells because it's at City College. They got embarrassed last week. Mitty's feeling pretty good because they won last week, but I think Bellarmine, they're mad right now. And they're going to come out on fire. So I'll say it'll be like it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't think both quarterbacks are going to have time to throw any major touchdowns. It's going to be like a 17-14 game. That's what I'm seeing right now.
I'm thinking
Wow.
it's going to be. I'm thinking if it's lower scoring like that, Bellarmine wins. If it's higher scoring, I really like Mitty's chances.
I do too. Yeah. They got some fast guys.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not just Danny Scudero. I mean, he's awesome.
No.
Don't get me wrong, but he's not the only one who can make big plays.
You saw him last
And
weekend,
Kim.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed.
You're talking about Ben Kim, or you're talking about that junior running back AJ? Like he's coming up too.
Neither of them even played. Is the crazy thing.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
but guys like Stephen Anaya, Charlie Butler,
Oh, and I totally forgot about Anaya.
Well, they
Anaya
played
is
Riordan.
really
So
good defensively.
Yeah, and then
Riordan
their
is
son.
really understaffed. They don't have a lot of guys.
Yeah, Riordan
And they
was
put him
also
away. They put him
in
away
Miami.
early, right? They put it away early.
It was 21-0 in first 5 minutes, and then Riordan actually kind of settled in, made a game out of it.
Yeah.
If they'd connected on a couple of deep passes, would have been really interesting. But they caught him. They caught him at the right time.
Nice. Well, speaking of Riordan, they're going to be hosting the Serra Padres. And I think we already know who's going to win that one, but it's just a matter of, well, how bad is it going to be?
I'll go first.
I'm sorry, Coach Adair. You're my guy, but I think,
Yeah.
it's a rebuilding year still for the Riordan Crusaders.
I think it's gonna get blown out like pretty bad. I don't see Riordan really, if at any point scoring. Like I don't see them getting anything on the board. I think it's gonna be over 40 points on that. But what I do like, and hopefully Ethan can piggyback on this, Riordan has been showing a lot of like bright spots though. Like this is going to be a team that like as time progresses with how young they are, these guys are going to come up. Like I really see it. Like a lot of the highlight plays that we see, they look really good. I think it's the experience part, that once they get a little bit more experience, who knows, this might be, you might see the WCAL, I think the early 2010s when everybody was kind of beating up on each other. There was like a couple years where
11,
like no one went
12,
undefeated.
yeah.
No one went
2011,
undefeated.
2012. Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like that once Riordan settles and, your other teams like Valley Christian, they start to like, their team grows up a little bit. I feel like that's going to start happening again. Like no one's going to be undefeated in that league. It's going to be back on top as like one of the top leagues in Northern California again.
So you're calling a running clock in the second quarter?
I'm calling a running clock in the second quarter.
Hey, if you are a senior from Serra, get ready to play because you're going to play this weekend.
Yeah.
The way Serra plays, it usually takes him a while to really pull away from teams.
That is true.
That is true too. I did see that.
I think, I do see this probably being a shutout, but I think it stays competitive for a little while longer than you guys are expecting.
Oh, do tell.
I think Riordan's with him for, it's maybe like 14-21-0 at half, and then really starts to pull away. I think Riordan's going to have a better defensive game. Mitty just hit him in the mouth really early. And as good as Serra is and as deep as they are, I don't know if they quite have like the same level of home run threats necessarily that they've had.
Their line is very young, especially their old line.
And you look at their skill players, it's much more tight end heavy than it is, wide out heavy. They don't have necessarily a Hassan Mahassan. Joey Villaroman's awesome and a great story coming back from his injuries. He's got a lot of speed, but I don't know if they quite have the guys that can rip off, 80-yard touchdowns like they've had some years. And that's where I think this game can actually stay closer for a while. I think the Riordan defense is one of the more underrated parts of their game. And I think they're going to make Serra sweat for a little bit.
They're going to make Coach Walsh yell really loud.
Yeah.
I love Coach Walsh when he pumps up the guys, man. Okay. That's the game.
Eventually Serra's talent will pull through and pull away. That'll happen. like it does against just about every team. The question is when. You know, you can measure, like when you measure teams against Serra, I think we measure them less by the final score and measure them more by when did Serra pull away.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Yeah.
Bellarmine last week. I like how the defense played against Serra. I mean, they really came out hitting, and I mean, it was just a matter of time, but you know, that's kind of like what I've been seeing from Serra. It's like they kind of bring out the best in their opponent, and
Mhm.
you know, this
Teams
Riordan
get up to
game.
play them.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, that
you have
Bellarmine
to.
game was like the championship game. You know, you got a 2-1 versus 2-1, or 2-0 versus 2-0 in the WCAL.
Yeah. Everyone's
So,
going to get up for Serra. You know, it's not like any team's going to worry about coming out flat against them. Serra's the one that's got to worry a little bit about that. And that's where I think these games can stay a little bit closer than they should for a little longer than they should.
yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, even in the Mitty game, like, you know, Serra hit Mitty in the mouth really early. Like the defense like stood really tall at the beginning, and then Mitty kind of like woke up a little bit, kept it a little bit closer than we thought, and then Serra just kind of like hit right back really hard. So, you know, like you said last week, you know, Bellarmine essentially did stay with them. Like
Yeah.
the defense stepped up really big from Bell last week. And then, like what Ethan said, like, then Serra pulled away. But
Yep.
it took him a minute. It took him a minute to go.
It was
The
slow, but it was
The big
painful.
breakthrough from Serra, though, was that they were able to actually hit on a couple of longer touchdowns. I know Danny New had a long run, Smith to Bellarmine for a long TD. So if Serra can unlock that big play ability, they can bury teams much earlier.
Think so too.
True.
St. Francis Valley Christian at Valley Christian. This is an interesting one. This could be like a trap game for St. Francis.
Now that you say trap game, like, yeah, no, I can't now, like, because Valley played really well against Sacred Heart. They put up a good fight against them. Did they play Sacred Heart last week? That was last week, right?
Last week they played
before.
SI. Sacred Heart was
played
2
SI.
weeks ago.
They got shut
2
out
weeks ago.
by SI.
Yeah, but
In
if
the
we
city.
get the team that was playing against Sacred Heart that actually put up a really good fight against Sacred Heart Cathedral, then this will be a trap game for them. I think SI is tired of getting. I think SI is tired of us picking against them. They're probably pissed off. So to put something
Hey,
together
I
for
picked them
them.
to win last week. And they shut them out.
I wasn't on with you guys, but I would have picked SI last week too.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did too. It's
They're very similar to St. Francis.
Mhm.
I mean, that's how I think St. Francis beat Sacred Heart Cathedral because they really managed the game really well.
Mhm.
And they
Second
what
half
it
turned
said.
into a huge flag fest too. That
yeah,
that
there
just
was
kind of took the game away
personal
from
fouls
both
all
teams.
over the place. So
Oh yeah, but I see St. Francis winning this, but with just the way that it feels like it's been a weird roller coaster for St. Francis. I think they'll stay in the win column. I think Valley Christian will put up a good fight. So I think this is going to be close. I think we're looking at probably 27-24. Close. Close. I think it's going to be closer. Valley Christian's starting to play a lot better-ish for the most part.
Well, I'm gonna say my line because I want to get to the Mitty Bellarmine the conclusion of the Mitty Bellarmine game. I'm calling a running clock in the third quarter. I just think they're on a roll and they got the mojo back, man. Matthew Doherty and that line, he's got time now, and there's only one D line from Valley Christian that I could see, using his quickness to get back there, and that's our photographer's son, Egger. But I think it's gonna be just like the the SI Valley Christian game. I think they're gonna it's gonna be a big win, a big gap, like 4 touchdown gap. So
Valley can stop the run. But their secondary is going to get tested. This is the best passing St. Francis team we've seen in a really long time.
yeah,
And I like some of Valley's secondary. I like Brandon Henderson and Kai Hamilton, but they're going to get tested a lot in this game. And I think St. Francis pulls away. It's another of those games, though, where like the team's styles lend itself to keeping it close because they kind of, this could turn into a game of, 9-minute drives.
That's true.
And then
That's
even
true.
if one team's better, it's hard to blow a team out when you're playing a game with such long possession. So unless St. Francis really takes some deep shots and goes for the jugular, which just isn't really like them, this game could stay way closer than anyone expects. But I would be surprised if the Lancers don't end up winning by multiple scores.
They've been passing a lot too, because they got the
Mhm.
QB, they got the QB and the receivers, and obviously the line they block like crazy this past game. I mean, I was looking at the footage, and I'm like, wow, they really gave them a lot of time. So if that happens, it's gonna be lights out by halftime, and I'm picking the Lancers by 35.
Whew.
I'll do a shutout. 35-0.
24-28.
24-28.
Something in that range.
I'll make a note of that. Is Lincoln, who is Lincoln playing, Ethan? Before
Lincoln
we move
of
on to
San Jose.
the main event, Lincoln San Jose is playing.
They are at Oak Grove Friday night.
Oof.
Wow. They look
I'm-
good.
I know we finally got
Who
to see
wants to
them
go
play.
first on this one?
I mean, it's fresh in my mind. Like I literally just watched them play, and there's so much speed on that Lincoln team. The fact that
Oh,
like
that's
I got
right.
to
You
watch,
saw both of them.
yeah. So I got to watch that. If you can't contain number 7, Taden Phillips from Lincoln, he single-handedly tore apart Christopher's defense by himself. He had like a 3rd and 25, and he got a first down by
Yeah,
himself.
he did. By
It was
himself.
it was insane. Like he's just a freaking player. Like I don't think Oak Grove has the answer for that. Like with how athletic he is, and then Oak Grove, like they came out really hard against Live Oak. Like it was really surprising. I thought, it was like, wow, Oak Grove might upset Live Oak, and then Live Oak turned it on, and Oak Grove kind of went silent. So if Oak Grove can maintain that intensity through the whole game that they did against Live Oak, I think they could put up a good fight against Lincoln. But you got to contain Tatum, and you got to contain his brother. Like if you don't contain those two guys, and
Sal.
also, you got to look out for Sal, because once Tatum and his brother can't get on the same page, they just hand it to Sal, and Sal's gone. So hold those three. You'll control that game. But Oak Grove cannot run out of steam in this game. But I do see Lincoln winning this probably 28-7.
Containing those guys is one of those things that's way easier said than done. I think Lincoln ends up winning this one pretty comfortably.
Well, I can't root against my friends. And I cannot root against my son's team, my son's school. So I'm just gonna seal my mouth and keep quiet for this game. But I do like Lincoln because I saw them, and I think Oak Grove is still a little bit behind. They're gonna be good in the future. I see good things for them, but I don't think this game is gonna be. Hopefully, it's not as ugly as the Live Oak game. The ending of it, but yeah, I'll take Lincoln.
What happened over there? Was it just turned into a blowout, or did something else go on?
It was 14-13, and then the
Mhm.
final score was 42-13.
Okay, you made it
42-14, something like that.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they just
they just rolled.
they unloaded on them in the second half, I believe. So, but this one is probably the most interesting matchup. You got the Bruce-Mahoney game at Kezar, Ethan?
Yep. As always at Kezar, other than like one year when they were doing putting down a new field there. They played it at SI, but that'll be Friday night, 7:00. Get there early. Parking's a mess.
Yeah.
Even if you get a spot in that parking lot, keys are getting out after takes forever, just the way that whole thing's organized. And that's nothing the schools can do about it. That's just how it was built a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I like SI on this one. If Sacred Heart Cathedral can keep the penalties off the table, they have a shot. They do have the best athletes. I think Sacred Heart Cathedral has probably got the best athletes in between these two teams, right? Would you agree?
I would agree. I would say Jerry Mixon is probably the best individual player in the WCAL this year.
I am picking SI over Sacred Heart Cathedral, 21-20.
So a reverse of last year's score.
Yes.
Wow.
I think SHC is the favorite in this game. Like if you're setting a line, they've got, almost every team SHC plays, they don't just have the one best player on the field. They have the two best because you also have RL Miller.
Yep.
And this is a good SHC team. I think that game against Valley Christian, you started to see their depth shine through a bit. We got to see a little more of Kendrick Sanders, a little more of Mikey Kalanico. Their line is better than it's been in years past. It's a lot of guys that are just a year older. Benny Hatch, Jordan Salofa-Fatu. But this game has a way of being close, which is what makes it so fun. A lot of high school rivalries, big bone, little big game. More often than not, it's a running clock for the second half. That doesn't happen to Bruce-Mahoney.
Nope.
In the last 6 years, there was 1 year that it ever was more than a 2-score lead, and that was with that really good 2019 SI team. Teddy Buchanan senior year, Danny Ryan senior year. I think this game is going to end up close, and there is a path for SI to win this game because in a close game, mistakes get magnified, and we've seen when you catch SHC at the right time, they're pretty mistake prone. But when they stay out of their own way and they don't beat themselves, they can do a lot of damage. SI has had trouble stopping the pass this year. Their run defense is pretty solid. That's how they shut out Valley Christian. But I don't know if they can stop guys like RL Miller, who could just rip off a couple of big plays. So I got to say, ultimately, SHC takes this one. But there is totally a path for SI to win this game, even though SHC has some amazing players. And again, if SI keeps this close, they can spread the ball around. They've got two different QBs they can use between Soren Hummel, who's only a sophomore, and Mac McAndrews. He's a senior. Hummel got his first couple starts with McAndrews hurt. They've got good choices whichever way they go. They can spread the ball around to a lot of receivers. Problem is, when you've got RL Miller in the opposing secondary, it's hard to rip off big plays. I would imagine Miller's job is going to be to shut down Gus Parker, who's SI's big play threat. But SI has a lot of those slot receiver tight end types, and they could, pepper the ball around, get a bunch of those, little 15-yard completions and give teams problems. And I think it's going to end up being tight. I just think I can't see Jerry Mixon's last Bruce-Mahoney, RL Miller's last Bruce-Mahoney being anything other than an SHC win. But I think it's going to be tight. It's going to be fun. It's what makes this game so special.
Gotcha. You have nothing to say about this game, Coach N?
No, I agree with I'm honestly the way that Ethan just broke it down. SI has a chance. Obviously, on paper, Sacred Heart is the favorite to win this game. If they minimize the mistakes and those penalties, then SHC is going to run away with it. If they can clean it up. But SI, and I've called it the last how many weeks, with SI, they like to late surge in a game. They can be down, but they'll stay in and they somehow come back. It's just this year they came short up against Bellarmine. They came short, they surged a little bit late. With that on the line, I think SI is going to probably come out this game a lot different than what we've seen, even with what they showed last week. I think SI is going to come out really firing on this one. They want to make a statement on this because they can essentially knock Sacred Heart like down further.
True. Who's so Serra obviously is the number 1 team in that league. Who's the number 2 team, you guys?
I think
We're gonna find
it's
that
still
out
St.
probably
Francis?
just in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, St. Francis.
but
That's it.
you can talk me into Mitty or Bellarmine. On the right day, SHC has the highest ceiling, I think. You know, if you had to take one of these teams and say who can, you know, reach the highest when they're at their absolute best, I'd go SHC.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. But after that loss against St. Francis, I think it's going to be between Mitty and St. Francis for that number 2 spot. And they play in 2 weeks at Mitty.
No, I think Mitty St. Francis is the final game. I think they play at Foothill that last Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technically, right now, it is Bellarmine in second in the WCAL. St. Francis and Mitty are tied.
Yeah.
I think because they're all 2-1 and they all have that loss to Serra. I think they're, you know, if we had to break down tiebreakers, it would go off of who has the best wins.
Then Mitty's ranked number 2 right now, technically, based on like from what I last saw in Max Preps, they were ranked number 2. So
They gotta
Mitty
beat
is
the
a little bit
Bells.
above. They will.
They gotta beat the Bells. But I'm picking the Bells.
I'm picking my Monarchs.
I think I like Mitty, but I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be an excellent weekend of football. Is there anything
I
else?
hate that all the rivalries, all these rivalries are grouped together. I wish the WCAL would spread them out more instead of kind of put them all on the same night. And I know for basketball they do it because, like, you know, they want to make sure, for example, if teams have like a long trip, San Francisco to San Jose or vice versa, you know, they want to make sure that everyone does it on like level footing. I don't think that's as necessary for football. So I would love if they could spread that out and, you know,
just
have like
stagger
one
it.
huge game each week. Because it sucks that you got to choose whether you're media or a fan between Bruce-Mahoney or Mitty Bellarmine, because they're both going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's too far for me. I'm right down the street from Bellarmine, so I'm going to the Bellarmine Mitty game at San Jose City College, and they do a good broadcast with the Bruce-Mahoney anyway. So that's
Oh yeah, you've been to your Bruce-Mahoney games before. You've seen how much fun it is, though, right?
yeah. But I'm looking forward to that matchup. That's going to be I think that's one of the best ones this weekend, and that's pretty much. I mean, that's all. Those are the only games that we're looking out for because those are the teams that we know, teams that we cover on a regular basis here. I know you cover a lot more, Ethan, but last question, though, for you guys. Who's your top 3 so far? Top 3 players that you've seen? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Especially when you throw in, you know, like two-way guys versus guys who just play one spot.
Would you go with a 2-way guy over a one-way star?
See, that's what makes it tough. But like out of the guys that I've seen this year in person, Jerry Mixon Jr., obvious. I've seen Pitt play, Rasheed Williams, and Zach Card and Kai Taylor are all in the conversation. Saw them play Folsom, so got to see Rico Flores and Greco Carrillo.
Yeah, Rico.
Don't sleep on Greco Carrillo either. And you know what I really like at Folsom? I love those like undersized pass rushers they've got that don't like intimidate you physically, but it's like they're in the backfield after less than a second on every play. They just know how to get by dudes.
They're really quick. Yeah, those I do like Jerry Mixon.
Yeah, I think
after
Jerry's
seeing him play live,
first one. I haven't seen Everton play yet this year, but I've seen Jerry on before. He's obviously insane. I
got to throw in Jabari Man out there, man. Jabari Man.
I was going to say Jabari Man, Danny New, Joseph Bay, Colin Tahitua, that whole group that's been playing varsity since they were freshmen.
Yeah, that four, that
whole
that
group's
group is
awesome.
really good. So
Trying to think of other guys I could throw in that mix. Shea O'Kelly, even though he's really just playing defense, he's way up there. He's the number 2 linebacker SHP's ever had, because it's gonna be hard to ever
BBK,
pass Ben Irvin. Yeah,
that's true.
that guy was different, but Shea's not far off.
No,
That you can have someone in that conversation at all is a good sign.
yeah. No, Shea, I'm excited to see where Sacred Heart Prep is going to end up at the end of the season. I have a feeling they might play Serra. And
I think that's very possible. And I think if they do, it would be a pretty awesome crowd, because that's another one where, it's a lot of kids from the same area that know each other.
Yeah.
Place
It's
would be rocking
possible.
for them.
It's
Yeah.
possible.
You know who I like? I like that quarterback and the receiver from Salinas.
Yes.
Schaefer
Isaiah Hunter.
Schaefer?
And Adam Schaefer. Yeah, that's a great group.
Adam Schaefer is like, because I saw a little bit of him from the scrimmage that they did at the Jamboree, and then I think he played one series in that Jamboree, and then all of a sudden, like, you just keeping up with him because he pops up, like, I see him pop up on Twitter, and I see it, like, man, he is playing really well right now. I think he's leading the section in passing. Like, he looks really, really good. And, I got to agree with, honestly, like, for me, like, as of recently seeing, I got to put Tayden up there. Like, like, the athleticism of that kid is just insane. Like, he's going to be something really special to watch. And the other one, like, I really like the quarterback from Serra.
I do too.
He's great.
He'll be really good. He's, the thing that makes him so special to me, like, every high school quarterback has, like, your typical high school QB goes into one of 3 modes when pressure comes. Either it's just take the sack, just throw it away, or do everything I can to extend the play. And he doesn't go onto autopilot in those situations. He keeps pushing, figures out what play he wants to make, and then he's just really composed in those spots. And that's what sets him apart, in addition to, being 6'4", which is a nice place to start.
Yeah.
I think he's got the mental side of playing the QB position down way more than most kids his age, even ones that are as gifted as him physically do.
He's still young too. He's got 1 more year left with that same line that he's got right now. So
yeah, now that Silver's injured, it's kind of, it sucks for now, obviously, but it's going to help in terms of, like, preparing for what next year could be there. Also want to mention Cooper Flanagan. Obviously, that guy is just physically unbelievable.
He's going to Notre Dame.
Yeah, and him and Rico Flores together, that's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
Couple of the linemen at De La Salle, I think Powers and Thompson, they were pretty darn good.
Thompson is a beast, man. And yeah, Cooper Powers, right?
Mm-hmm. Speaking of linemen, Justin Hilkema at Wilcox, he's going to be special. That kid's huge.
He's a junior. Yep.
Is he only a junior? Wow.
Yeah, he's a junior.
Kid's just massive. He's going to be a really good one. Maulidi Salah in the secondary at Wilcox, they're letting him line up a receiver too. He deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, Wilcox is on the
roll.
roll.
I go through, like, the whole list of dudes I've seen.
Wilcox is on the roll.
That Wilcox Los Gatos game in a few weeks is going to be good. Los Gatos doesn't have, like, that one guy like when they had Jake Rip last year, but they got a lot of guys who can play.
They do, yeah. Jalen Thomas scored. I think Jalen Thomas scored 3 touchdowns this past weekend.
He's up there. I like Will Brennan, the deep threat, too. And I like Lucci Casale, because Lucci Casale is an awesome name.
Now, is he related to Coach Brennan?
I don't know.
I've seen Coach Brennan at Los Gatos' games.
Well, he's got a younger. I know he's got a kid named Scotty who's, like, around freshman age, so maybe he's like a cousin or something. I don't think it's his son. But
probably related.
Kids, Carter Shaw.
Oh yeah, Carter. Ooh, Carter. Yes.
You see the
Yeah.
level of plays. I mean, last year he was doing it on defense. Now he's doing it offensively too. He's
Have you seen
He
Carter
should go
play?
a long way, and not just because he's related to coaches. He's
No.
really good.
I have a feeling he's going to end up at San Jose State.
I know they've
Got
got
an
some
offer
interest.
from State, and then he's got another one.
I think USD, which is where his dad played, has some interest. Wherever he's going to end up.
He's definitely somebody that is bound to do some damage at the next level.
Wherever he's going to end up, he's going to win some games, and there are going to be coaches looking at themselves asking, why didn't we offer this guy?
Yeah. So, but, I mean, we'll see him hopefully in a couple of weeks when they play. They do play Menlo Atherton, right, in 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's a Saturday at SHP, and I think
that should be a good one.
3 weeks time. Yeah, so I guess they finish with MA and Menlo, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta miss that one because Riordan's playing Sacred Heart that day, Stanfield Cup.
Oh, don't they play that at night?
Not when Riordan's the home team. Saturday afternoon at Riordan.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
But that's gonna be good.
Well, just like that,
SHP game.
we're in week 8. That's crazy.
Feels like the season's barely halfway over, and so we're like,
well, it's in a way it is halfway for us, but for a lot of these teams,
playoffs and stuff,
their season's gonna end, in 3 weeks. The majority of the football teams out there, but I think most of the teams we cover, they're gonna go pretty deep. So, but that's pretty much it, man. I appreciate you guys making the time to do this. I'm gonna try to keep it as real as possible with doing very, very little editing. We got 3 screens on the screen, and I gotta
take out,
I gotta work my magic. And I do think some of the players are gonna be excited to hear their names mentioned with that last question. We didn't mention your name. That means you haven't done much. Ooh.
And you need to do more.
Or I just haven't seen you yet.
Or we haven't seen you. Actually, yeah, that does make a huge difference. We got to see you. We got to hear from you. We got to see you. So, Taden Phillips, though, I like that name. I'm gonna add that to my list, my all-star list.
Matt Doherty, you guys mentioned. While we're still doing this, Kealakana on both ends. I've just hardly seen him do much on defense this year because nobody wants to throw.
You know who I really like? Offensive tackle, Oliver Bari, St. Francis.
Oh
yeah.
They got big shoes to fill on that line. He's doing it.
He's doing, and Bobby Bobadilla, the center.
Oh, I like him a lot. He was my guy.
Been watching them too.
Really early in our draft.
They're really stepping up. So as long as there's 4 seconds for Matthew Doherty, he's gonna throw that bomb, and those guys are gonna come. They made some really sick catches like this past Friday.
I saw the video of that long TD to Atkinson late in the first half. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean that was against Sanders. That was against Miller. He went up against some guys, and I thought he did really well. So, but it was one of those games that was really managed well, I thought.
Oh yeah.
So, and it was long. They ended like at 10:30.
Yeah, the
really long
flags had a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
I tell you, the people wearing green were not happy,
and injuries too. So, but yeah, I will see you guys this Friday. And
I will be there at the Mitty game.
Yeah,
I'll be up at Kezar, but maybe catch you at Westmont Lee or Riordan Serra or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in those two games.
Awesome. Should be a fun.
I gotta see Mason Price, our playmaker from Westmont. I gotta see my playmaker from Westmont, Mason Price.
I'm gonna go catch some volleyball this week too. Maybe go see. I haven't seen St. Francis yet. Probably go see them Wednesday. They play Sacred Heart Cathedral down in Mountain View.
I usually wait when it's league time, CCS time, to go to.
Volleyball's been fun this year. If you ever get the chance, get on out there.
Yep.
Just tough to schedule around football, but it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
So All right. I appreciate you guys doing this. We'll mix it up in the next 24 hours and put it out there. ASAP.